Hey guys, and welcome to AMC Movie Talk for movie fans. I'm your host, Jenna Phillips, and this is our daily show giving you all the latest news from the world of movies, plus insight into what it all means. And joining me as always is AMC Editor-in-Chief, John Campea.
Good morning. Greetings and salutations, everybody. As everybody knows, nothing screams alpha male, nay, ultimate alpha male, like scoring dominant kick-ass scores on the Buzz Lightyear ride at Disney, which this guy did last night. Ultimate alpha male right here. Nice. By the way, guys, sorry about yesterday, no show. Of course, it was the Memorial Day weekend, so we took the day off, but we are back in full effect.
How was the Iron Man exhibit?
I love the Iron Man exhibit at Disneyland. Actually, it was much cooler than I thought it would be, actually. I thought it would just be kind of cheap, but it was really a lot of fun.
Yeah, I totally want to go. And also joining me is our very own production supervisor, Dennis Sen. Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. I hope you guys had a good Memorial Day weekend.
We did. How was yours?
Mine was good. I watched UFC with John.
Nice.
Much fun.
We also watched Fast 6.
Yes, also much fun.
I also saw Lawrence of Arabia, the new digitally restored version on a projected 4K.
So jealous.
It was fantastic.
But did you get a kick-ass score on the Buzz Lightyear game at Disneyland?
No, I did not.
I win.
He does. All right, let's get started. In its fourth week in release, Iron Man 3 has managed to stay in the top 5 on the box office chart, making over $24 million this past weekend, and has passed the $1.14 billion mark internationally, making it the 5th highest film of all time. John, what do these numbers tell you?
It tells us that Iron Man is making a lot of money. It tells us that this was an amazing weekend at the box office, considering a film made $24 million, and that was 5th place. But here's the big thing that this really screams to me, and I know I've mentioned this before, but it bears repeating again. You know, comic book fans, of which I am one, don't like it when I say the truth. The truth is comic book fans are out of touch with general movie-going fans. I mean, once again, if you just look at the comic book fans' chat boards and stuff like that, you would think that Iron Man 3 was the worst film in history. Was everybody so angry? This movie is like the worst. It's an insult. It's a slap in the face. Well, guess what? It's still got right around an 80% critic rating, and it's got right around an 85% audience rating. And look, you don't get to make over $200 million at the domestic box office without people going back again and again and again to watch it. This thing is approaching $400 million domestically, past $1.1 billion internationally. People are loving this film. They're going back again and again and again. Now, I'm not saying that means you should like it, not at all, because, you know, there are films that everybody loves that I hate. There are films that I love that everybody else hates. That's the best thing about movies, is purely subjective. But we have to, as comic book fans, accept the truth. And the truth is, oftentimes, we, my brothers and sisters, are quite often completely out of touch with what the majority of the average movie-going audience is. And, you know, and this comes to mind a lot when I hear a lot, not just comic book fans, but genre fans, and everybody knows I'm a freaking genre fan myself, but genre fans will often write to me, say, hey, if they did a Batman Beyond movie, it would be a huge success. No, it wouldn't. I know you think so. I know all your friends think so, but you got to accept the truth that what we think as genre fans, what we think as hardcore comic book fans, does not reflect and is frankly a bit out of touch with what the average moviegoer is. Nobody wants to see a Batman Beyond movie. And despite our apprehensions, despite our objections to some of the material in Iron Man 3, guess what? People love it. And they keep going back to watch it again and again and again. The 5th largest box office film of all time. It just kind of shows. And look, there's nothing wrong with us being a little bit out of touch. We love what we love, and we should make no apologies for it. Just because we're a little bit out of touch with what the average movie-going audience is, there's nothing wrong with that. That just means diversity. That means good stuff. We just have to acknowledge it, though. We'll be happier if we do. Dennis, you look at these numbers that Iron Man 3 continues to produce. What is the first thing that jumps into your head?
Well, the first thing I think of is that comic book movies are not dead. Like people have been proclaiming that. You've been hearing that like over and over. Oh, there's so many comic book movies and they're gonna die soon. No, I don't think so. I don't think so. And also, not just comic book fans, genre fans in general, they always get a little too crazy with their purism. Like Star Trek is another one. If you read the forums about Star Trek, you would think that Star Trek was the most terrible movie ever, just like Iron Man. Yeah. Iron Man 3 and Star Trek Into Darkness, according to the hardcore fans, are the worst movies ever made, and it's just not true.
Yep, and people are liking it and going back to it.
Not long ago, we reported that Tom Cruise was set to start shooting The Man from U.N.C.L.E. soon, with Lone Ranger star Armie Hammer joining him as his partner. Well, this past week, it was announced that Cruise has walked away from the project after official news came that Mission Impossible 5 was greenlit and going into production shortly. Dennis, does this news surprise you, and who could you see replacing Cruise?
I don't know if it surprises me, because I don't think it got that far into development, but I say get Jeremy Renner to replace him. Because apparently his job is just to replace people. Like Bourne Legacy or Bourne franchise, just replace Matt Damon with Jeremy Renner. Mission Impossible, replace with Tom Cruise. So
Jeremy Renner.
Let's just go with Jeremy Renner.
It's hard to be too surprised by this. I mean, I would have been really surprised by this had we not heard about Mission Impossible 5. Obviously, I think for the franchise, that creates a little bit of a conflict of interest, having the same kind of feel of a movie franchise, and they are going to be similar, let's face it. As far as who could I see replacing him, I know he's a little bit older. I could really see Liam Neeson in a role like this. And I think Liam Neeson would have incredible chemistry with the type of performer that Armie Hammer has. I'd love to see those two guys on screen together. Yeah, so not surprised. And for me, I'd like to see Liam Neeson.
I think Michael Fassbender or Bradley Cooper, but I am a huge Bradley Cooper fan.
Yes.
So, all right, Iron Man 3 wasn't the only film to do extremely well at the box office this Memorial Day weekend. As a matter of fact, this was the biggest box office Memorial Day weekend of all time. The big question most people were asking was, would Fast and Furious 6 or Hangover 3 take the box office? The clear winner was Fast 6, taking in just over $120 million over the 4-day weekend, and Hangover taking in just over $50 million, a huge drop from Hangover 2's $85 million opening. John, do these numbers surprise you?
The results, not really. I mean, I pictured Fast 6 making just a hair under 100 million. So I'm very pleasantly surprised by how much it made, that it crossed that 120 mark. I knew that it would beat The Hangover 3, but I didn't anticipate it would beat The Hangover 3 by that much. But this just goes back to something that Dennis and I talk about quite frequently. When you are coming off a weak movie, and everybody hated, I mean, I'm using hyperbole here, everybody hated Hangover Part 2, and for good reason. It was a very bad movie. It was terrible. Nowhere near what it deserved to be, considering how great the first one was. When you're coming off a movie that's bad, and that leaves a bad taste in people's mouths, you have an uphill battle. And I think I knew we weren't going to see 85 million for Hangover 3. I didn't think it would drop as low as 50. And most critics hate it. Full transparency here. Most critics hate Hangover 3. I'm one of these guys. This is one of those rare times that I really differ with most of the critics. I really enjoyed Hangover 3 quite a bit. I didn't think it was good as the first one. But yeah, it is unfortunate. But once again, and this is why I say, when people ask me what's going to make more money, Avengers 2 or Man of Steel, it's Avengers 2. Obviously, Avengers 2. Man of Steel has been on the shelf for a long time. Superman's been on the shelf. And the last Superman movie we had, while I believe it had a lot of redeeming qualities, most people really didn't like the last Superman movie we had, and that makes Man of Steel have to fight an uphill battle. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be great. It's going to make really good money, but no, it's not going to come anywhere to Avengers 2. And because of what we see here in this Fast and Furious and Hangover battle, when you're fighting an uphill battle, it's a tough thing to overcome. Dennis, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I'm not surprised at all about the numbers. Yeah, it's definitely, when it comes to sequels and stuff like that, it's always what your last movie, how well it was received. Like Spider-Man's a perfect example. The biggest box office draw of the 3 original Spider-Mans was the third one. But that was the worst. And the reason why it was the biggest is because the second one was the best one.
Damn good.
And so that's what happened with Hangover and with Fast 6. I mean, Fast 6 came off Fast 5, which for me was the best of the franchise. I didn't even like the first 2, and I didn't even watch the third and fourth one. But the fifth one was great, and so the sixth one everyone wanted to see. So I don't think it's surprising at all.
Completely agree. All right, folks, well, listen, it's that time of the show for Buy and Sell. Here's how this is going to work. In front of her, Jenna has a bunch of other items in the world of movie news that she's going to go through, and Dennis and I are simply going to say whether we buy it or sell it. So Jenna, what do we got?
The highly anticipated Pacific Rim is now just about 6 weeks away from opening in AMC theaters everywhere, and a new TV spot for the sci-fi film has hit the airwaves. Dennis, buy or sell this new Pacific Rim spot?
I buy it. I can't wait for this movie to come out. It looks awesome. It's just exactly what a popcorn blockbuster movie should be in the summer. And there's a little new footage in the TV spot, but that's not what, we're all looking for. We're just looking for the giant monsters and giant robots killing each other.
Yeah, for those reasons, I absolutely have to buy this too. And they're doing exactly what you should do as you're progressing with marketing. Show us what we want to see, which is the monsters and the robots. But then as you're giving us new trailers and new TV spots, give us just a little bit of new footage that we haven't seen yet. Not too much, just a little bit. They are handling the marketing in this film really well. And with Guillermo del Toro, you know it's going to be even more than just giant monsters and robots. There's going to be more depth to it than that. And so for all those reasons, I buy it.
Oh boy, actor Charlie Sheen has changed his name back to his birth name Carlos Estevez for the upcoming Machete sequel, Machete Kills. A new image can be seen with the actor's new name holding a machine gun in a slick-looking suit. Yeah, and the intro actually says, and introducing Carlos Estevez. Yeah. I thought introductions were usually reserved for new actors.
Newcomers.
John, buy or sell the name change for Machete Kills?
I buy it. I think this is really fun. It's surprising how many people still think that Emilio Estevez changed his name. No, Martin Sheen and Charlie Sheen changed their names. Emilio Estevez is the only one of the three who actually kept his original name. I think this is a really cool idea, and it's kind of like a reintroduction of Charlie Sheen doing this. And let's face it, it's a more badass sounding name, especially for a poster like this. It's a name that fits really well with the Machete Kills. So for those reasons, I buy it. Dennis?
I sell it. I think it's just funny that when he goes to a movie like Machete, it's like, oh, well, let me just ethnic up my name now. And
such a good point.
He's going to change it back. I mean, Charlie Sheen is a known commodity. That's like me going oh, I'm going to do a movie, and it's going to be like all white people, so I'm going to change my name to Dennis Smith, just for that movie, and then I'll be Dennis Zen back when I go to other stuff.
A new World War Z International poster has emerged. This one showing the chaos of the zombie apocalypse with Brad Pitt huddling with his family on the run. Dennis, buy or sell the new World War Z poster?
I sell it. It's terrible. It's a bad Photoshop job.
Yeah.
If Brad Pitt wasn't in the poster and they had his name and his face, you honestly would think it was some sort of direct to DVD movie that some really bad studio put out.
I'm going to buy it. One of the things, while agreeing with Dennis that it does look like it's poorly photoshopped, it does, but it conveys what makes me look forward to this movie. It's giving us a swarm-like zombie apocalypse, which is not what we normally see. It gives us a sense that there is an actual goal and a mission. Most of these zombie films is just run and survive, run and survive. With World War Z, it's something a little bit different. I think the poster communicates that. So while I agree with Dennis that it does look like a bad Photoshop, I still got to buy the poster.
We've already seen several images of actor Paul Giamatti as Rhino, well, at least in his human form. Some people have speculated that we may not see the full Rhino transformation in the upcoming Amazing Spider-Man 2, but new images have emerged showing Giamatti in a special CGI marker suit elevated off the ground. John, buy or sell these pictures indicating we are indeed going to see a full CGI Rhino in the Amazing Spider-Man 2?
I sell it, and here's why. This image makes me very, very nervous. At first, I'm really excited because, he's going to be actual Rhino. But you know what? Take a close look at these pictures. Why is Paul Giamatti still facial acting? Why is Paul Giamatti still in the skull cap? Why is he? I think we've got a warmonger situation from the first Iron Man. I am suspecting that Rhino is actually going to be in a mech armored battle suit, not a huge hulking creature. By looking at these shots, I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm dead wrong, but I don't want to see that. I want to see Rhino. I'll give it a shot, even if it is a big giant mech warrior, and hopefully it'll be great. But it makes me nervous, so for that reason, I sell it. Dennis, what do you think?
Well, I buy that he is going to be in it as Rhino, but I sell the idea of Rhino being fully shown in the next Spider-Man. I kind of wish that they just left it where they just gave kind of like a little short cameo or just kind of hinted at the Rhino coming,
right?
Instead of like having the full-on villain, because we have Electro already.
All right, folks, well, listen, it's that time of the show for Mailbag. Here's how this works. If you've got a topic or a question that you would like us to address on the show, you can email us anytime at amcmovietalk@gmail.com. Now, I want to point out that we only answer 3 or 4 a day, and we get hundreds of emails from you guys every day. So we have started a brand new show on our AMC Movie News YouTube channel called AMC Mailbag, where we just do nothing but mailbag. Look in the description of this video, and you'll see a link to our playlist for AMC Mailbag. We've only done 2 episodes so far, but we're going to do a couple of those shows every week to get caught up as much as we can on the mailbag. So if you send in a question to amcmovietalk@gmail.com, maybe it'll get answered on AMC Movie Talk. Maybe it'll be on Mailbag. Make sure you check it out. But right now, we do have a few questions pulled out of the mailbag. Jenna's got them. So, Jenna, what do we got?
Nick Chapman writes, "Hi, guys from the UK. Love the show. Not sure if this has been addressed before in the show, but do you have any information on the upcoming Mass Effect movie? I've never been a fan of the video game adaptations on film thus far, but there are a number of games that I feel have potential to make a great movie, some of which seem to be happening, Assassin's Creed and Portal. I think that the Mass Effect franchise is such a story-based game that a direct movie adaptation would be great, as well as a large universe that a number of different stories can be told. Do you guys know if this is still going ahead, and what are your thoughts?"
I got to pass this one off to Dennis, because Dennis has played this game a lot more than I have. Dennis, number one, is this a game that lends itself well to movie? And if so, have you heard anything? Where does this stand right now as far as, is there going to be a Mass Effect movie?
I personally love the franchise. It's actually one of my favorite video game franchises, along with Fallout. From what I've heard, that Warner Brothers and Legendary Pictures are still working on the movie. They had a script in development, and then they decided to toss it out at the end of last year, and now they're starting again. But they are still moving ahead with it. I just hope they get a really good director with it, and that the script is supposedly based on the first game with Commander Shepard and the male version, because I don't know if you guys know, there's a male and female. You could pick if you want to be a male or female. And it's supposed to be based on the first game. My concern is, how are they going to incorporate all the characters from the game in? And I think they're going to have to cut some out, because there's a huge list here. There's Commander Shepard, of course, Ashley Williams, Liara, Caden, Garrus, Tali, Joker, Rex, and those are just characters that are main characters in the first game, you know? So I think whoever's writing the script needs to condense that stuff down.
All right.
Clifford Rivera writes, "Now that Fast 6 has hit theaters and the internet is buzzing over Jason Statham, is it possible that with the recent announcement of a new Transporter trilogy, that Statham is actually playing the character of Frank Martin in Fast 7?
Okay, first of all, before anybody yells at us, Jason Statham being in Fast 6 is not a spoiler. Okay, Michelle Rodriguez was out doing interviews talking about Jason Statham being in the movie. It was a big publicly made announcement that Jason Statham was there. Okay, so we're not doing spoilers. Okay, Jason Statham's there. No, he's not going to be Frank Martin. I mean, I know, hey, it's a character in a movie about cars going real fast. I can see how we'd want to draw a line. But I think the first couple of Transporter movies were like Fox movies. I think the last one was handled by Lionsgate, neither of which are Universal. So it's not even a character that's in Universal's wheelhouse. Plus, in this one, he's going to be the villain. He's the big bad guy. And I believe his last name, they've already said, is Shaw. It's not Martin. So while I can see why we'd wonder about a connection, no, there is no connection between Fast 7, Jason Statham's character, and his character in the Transporter.
Jordan Sexton writes, "Hey guys, my name's Dane." I guess his name's not Joran. I'm an overnight huge fan of your show. Thanks, Dane. I'm a huge fan of Marvel and what the industries are doing with their mimics of the comics, but I am also a bigger anime fan and would love to see some remade flicks of some of the popular tunes from my childhood, such as the Ninja Turtles, which is obviously being sought, but what about a Gundam series movie? I know they sort of experimented with such an idea, but I feel like Sunrise Studios would do well selling the Gundam franchise off And as vast as the series really is, Mobile Suit Gundam or even Gundam Wing could be a huge seller.
Or Gundam Style.
Oh, yeah.
Like, all I can picture in my head is Sai in some giant robotic suit running around. No, here's... a lot of people have written me about Gundam or Robotech or stuff like that. I mean, remember, there was a Robotech movie in development, I mean, like 6 years ago. Tobey Maguire actually joined on with a Robotech production as a producer and apparently was going to star it. And, like, I don't think anything has happened on that since. But here's the problem. We've already talked about this Guillermo del Toro film coming, Pacific Rim. And fairly or unfairly, probably unfairly, any attempt at making, I think right now, a Robotech or a Gundam movie would be met with the general movie audience thinking this is just a Pacific Rim ripoff. Obviously, you and I know that that wouldn't be the case. That's not the case at all. But remember we talked about how there's a bit of a disconnect between genre fans and general movie-going audiences. Well, this is one of those things. Nobody in the general movie-going audience has heard of Gundam or watches Robotech or anything like that. You and I do, and we know it would make an awesome movie. But now we got Pacific Rim. If Pacific Rim wasn't there, I'd say, yeah, the field is ripe for somebody to take one of these properties, Robotech or Gundam, or one of the other ones, and make something really cool that I think maybe audiences could sink their teeth into. But with Pacific Rim being out there, and especially if it's good, if Pacific Rim is as good as we think it'll be, then that opens up the door for sequels, and it means that giant robots becomes the purview of Pacific Rim to movie-going audiences, and anything like Gundam or Robotech unfairly would be looked at as a ripoff. Dennis, do you see this any differently than I do, or is there something I'm missing?
No, I completely agree with you. I think you're right that people have a disconnect between what they know and what the general audience knows. No one knows what Gundam is. I know what it is. I never really watched it. I did watch Robotech, which was great, and I think it would make a great movie, but nobody knows what Robotech is. I mean, but after this Pacific Rim movie comes out, people are just being clamoring for a Pacific Rim 2. They're not going to be clamoring for another franchise. Yeah.
It's unfair, but it's the truth. Well, folks, that'll do it for us. We've run out of time. But listen, before you do anything else, while I've got you, stop what you're doing. Click that subscribe button. Become a subscriber to our AMC Movie News YouTube channel. It'll keep you up to date on everything going on in the world of movie news. And, of course, our daily AMC Movie Talk show and our AMC new mailbag show. So make sure you click the subscribe button so you can follow us that way. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/AMC Theaters. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/AMC Theaters. If you'd like an audio-only version of this episode, look in the description of this video and you'll find links to our iTunes and Stitcher Radio so you can listen to us on the way to work or running on the treadmill or whatever. Make sure you go out and see a movie tonight. There's Fast 6, there's Hangover, there's the new animated film Epic, Iron Man 3 still there, Star Trek still there. Such a great time to be a film fan. Head on over to www.amctheaters.com to get all your theater, showtime, and movie ticket information. And once again, click that subscribe button. I want to thank, as always, our very lovely host, Ms. Jenna Phillips.
Thank you.
Thank you to our production manager over here, Mr. Dennis Zen.
Thanks for having me.
And most of all, thank you to you guys. Listen, most important part of this show is certainly not what we have to say. It's what you have to say. Make sure you jump on down to the comment section and leave your thoughts on any or all the topics that we've discussed here today. So thanks so much for joining us. And until next time, my name is John Campia for AMC Movie News. Bye-bye.